So, scene is set for the Perth game. We are starting off in Leon's bookstore, where he's called a number of people, essentially because where he's about to go he'd like a little bit of backup. Says, all right, so thank you all for coming. I'm actually going off to meet with the Harbinger and hoping that you could all come along and provide, well, hopefully we will not, this won't devolve into combat, but if so, I'd like to have backup.
Oh, no problem, my prince. That's what we're here for. To serve.
Right. Let's see, one question. Well, two questions. First, how many of you speak Latin?
Latin?
I know a little bit.
Alright, so Creed knows a little bit. Because that's one language that I know I and the Harbinger both speak somewhat fluently. At least I speak it better than, I speak it better than I speak Arabic, and he speaks it better than he speaks English.
How old is this dust old bird?
I have not heard of one of them that is not at least an elder.
Hannibal kind of looks around. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And considering that they showed up around 10 years ago, which is plenty of time for some of them to embrace if they choose, I'm guessing they're either unable to or they choose not to.
So what do we know about this guy? He, she.
He, well, very old. He says, and actually I've gotten confirmation that he is a member of
Now the word you're looking for is Ashira.
Yeah, he's a member of the Ashira, and I know he has some grudge against the Giovanni. And I also know he is a necromancer. Again, like the Giovanni. So what exactly is going on there, I'm not certain.
Right. So as far as I know, his name is Abdul Fattah. Is that still a thing?
Yes.
OOC, is it historical name?
No, not that you would have heard of.
Okay.
Yes. And he's currently out at the Old York Hospital, where, as far as I can tell, he's done his very best to maintain the masquerade.
Now, has he announced his presence in your domain?
Oh, okay. Before I was Prince, he pretty much ended up announcing his presence in the domain to me.
Huh.
Creel and Rafat were there when this happened.
Were you now?
He did make himself known.
Yes.
Well, or was made known of.
One of his... A ghostly servant of his contacted me and led us back to his place, where we were able to, fortunately, talk with him, and I passed his information on to former Prince Lavoisier, while he was still Prince, but as far as I could tell, he never actually met with the Harbinger. So,
Well, I'm dying to meet this old bat.
Yes, he's... I'll admit my views on him have changed slightly since I've now become Prince and have to think about things in a different way. but he could potentially be an asset to the city. He could also
Or a
potentially.
danger.
We're all of us a danger, potentially.
Just like that old gangrel. Looking over to Mr. Creed. Creel, I'm sorry. Creed. Sorry, Creed.
Yes, call my Marcus.
Yep, it's like, alright. But in any case, fortunately my car will easily fit us all. So if... and what's more, as Prince, I'm offering everyone who comes with me as backup a minor boon.
Oh yeah, I'm coming.
And if it comes to violence and injuries are sustained, I will also provide blood as necessary.
Your own?
Sure, if you want.
Fat will just open up his jacket and will take out a little vial. It's like, if you wouldn't mind putting in this, please. So it's smiled.
Oh.
I promise I'll take it later.
Alright, so if there's anything that you want to grab before you head out, you should probably do that now.
Ravat has a rather large cooler with him.
And otherwise, let's head on out.
Please give me a moment. Creel has his gym bag with him, but you don't usually wear all of that unless you want the police to start asking questions.
Right.
So he needs to put it
There's
on.
room in the trunk.
Yep.
Want me to turn around while you put it on?
You can watch as long as you promise not to blush.
Oh, you wouldn't even notice. As usual, Hannibal would keep staring. Alright. Let's do this.
So, and among other things, Leon will call the number he has and say, I am coming, I am bringing a few bodyguards. I don't think we'll need them, but I'm simply being cautious.
You are most welcome, my master is pleased that you will be contacting us again. Because I don't think you've actually pointed out to him you're the prince yet. He's just kind of like, what? Waiting ages. Although to be fair, it's more the ghoul going, how long does this usually take? It's like, I'm only going to get worried if it starts going into a decade. He's busy. He's probably an elder like me. These things take time. As you guys are... Oh, are you going to...
Yeah, I was just going to say, so we'll drive on over there.
When you're about 10 minutes away from the place, or if that's going to crack open that cooler, I'm rolling for blood potency. And this is probably going to terrify all concerned when they see your back going through this much blood. But I want to do it.
Well, okay, it'll terrify most people. Leon's like, oh, right, he's preparing in case it comes to that.
Hey man, you're goddamn prince. Also, I'm me. I like to keep me alive. These other guys have also have a vested interest in, but the two of us ain't able to keep alive. So we're rolling for that. Only 2 successes. So I'm gonna drop my generation to 7th for the next hour. Oh, sorry, I got 2 successes. Yeah. So yeah, 7th generation for next hour. And I'll just count off how many blood bags he's going to use. So you guys can talk in the meantime.
Oh, Hannibal would just, sit in the back of the car and observe.
Yeah, no, well, right now everyone's like, so, actually, one other question. What other this is sort of a tactical question. What languages do the rest of you speak? I myself speak about 7 languages.
Only Indian and English currently. Just to be fair, Creed's gonna be a little like he's got decent academics, but unless he actually has Latin as a merit, he'll be, yeah, that's definitely they're speaking too quickly. Oh dear God, they're speaking too
I
quickly.
don't have merit as a Latin, but I have academic traits coming from them. But I also can understand a little bit Arabic. It's out of character. He is Muslim.
Oh.
Hannibal just shrugs.
Well, besides English, I speak Navajo, Russian, Breton, Japanese, Mandarin, and Latin.
Hannibal would raise an eyebrow. Navajo.
Yeah, I was in World War II. Befriended one of the Windtalkers.
Navajo.
It's not like he had a. It's not like I had a lot to do most of the time, just dealing with minor ailments. But yeah, I know that at the very least, I and Abdul both speak Latin, so. We use that as a common language.
Out of character question to the STs: is telepathy universal, or do you actually speak a language?
You don't need to speak a language. However, if you're putting words in his head, if he doesn't understand those words, he won't be able to understand it. If you're looking into his head, you see images and things which you're going to try
No,
to interpret.
I was actually meaning like if I want to talk to him in his head.
No, it won't make sense to him unless.
Okay.
But just by using words, you can try and get creative with it potentially.
Well, I think you can put images into people's head if you want to.
Yeah, you can.
The people around are probably going to see as you're going in there. Rafat goes through 12 blood bags. Like he buys 12 blood points. He is blood buffing his stamina and his dexterity to max for a 7th gen, and he's got a full blood pool.
Yep.
Because now we know we're going meeting an elder.
Yep. Always useful.
Meanwhile, instead of watching Rafan do the blood pool stuff, I'm keeping eye out on the outside.
And Leon's driving, so most of his attention is taken up by that. But when you've got Auspex 5, you can notice a lot of things. So drive on up to the hospital.
Pull up into the disused car park.
Yep.
There doesn't seem to be really anyone around the place. People give me perception alertness check.
Yay, standard difficulty.
Standard difficulty. Actually, difficulty 8, because it's been a little while.
May I activate Auspex?
Yeah, you can use Auspex.
And you said mine was up, so. Wow.
Yeah, you definitely see the flashbacks of I don't know.
Activating heightened senses for hearing.
My insightful merit counts. That's.
Someone roll 5 dice for me. I can't open dice.
I'll roll for it.
That's 9 successes if my insightful counts. Otherwise, I'll 6.
Creed has 2 successes.
I have 2 as well.
Difficulty?
Difficulty is 8 as a base.
Oh, actually, I have more. I have actually 4.
1 success.
I love Auspex so much.
Isn't it great?
I'm just going based on myself. Oh, yeah. So, okay, I think pretty much everybody's noticing. Yeah, some of you guys have noticed the earth around a few of the spots around the hospital has been disturbed. Not now, not like in the last hour, not like in the last day, not like in the last week. About a month ago. It looks like it's been basically so. But, stuff has grown back. But it looks like basically the earth was all moved in an area for some reason.
That would be shortly after we first met.
Actually, it'd be a little while after that.
Okay. Well, head on inwards.
Yep. Hannibal is gonna once everyone kind of goes towards the hospital, she's gonna use obfuscate level 2 and just go sneaky, sneaky, sneaky.
People want to give me perception alertness. Difficulty 9. I'll roll for
No problem. I roll.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, cool.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Using regular for a fat. Okay. That's 5. Yeah. With all the acute senses. Don't need heightened senses, just the acute senses. So
We all
yeah.
did super
Creed would hear a little bit of movement. Those who got multiple successes, you guys can hear the sound of 3 people moving, not near where you are, but they're moving through one of the corridors, moving to the area where what those who had been here previously recognize as the area where you met him.
Yep.
When you enter the room, you see there are 5 people there. You would have heard the 3 people going in. There's Abdul Fattah. There's his ghoul, who does look quite gaunt, still not looking particularly fantastic health. And then there are 3 just figures standing in the shadow in the background, which wouldn't take much notice, basically equal numbers to yourselves.
Yep.
Although, zombies, unless they're super zombies.
Right.
There is what only Leon would pick up, but there's a bit of a murmur. Leon would have heard some of the ghosts and stuff as you're moving around. There's a lot of ghosts have been here. This is meant to be a particularly haunted site, which is probably why he came here. Or maybe he's been here just that long, it started to be, but he didn't claim that before. But there's definitely an awful lot of ghosts here now. Maybe he's been gathering them to the spot. You don't know.
Exactly.
Who can notice that with the ghosts?
That is Leon Harris, because he's got medium.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yep.
Sneaky fellow, you.
Yeah, this is why he notices things.
I have medium oracular ability. I get all of the insight.
Almost.
Almost. And
yeah.
And actually, at this point, once he enters and sees Abdul Fattah, Leon will go Salam Alaikum.
We will say in English, very clear English, thank you for meeting with me here. I am happy to receive you.
Ah.
Hannibal will drop out of obfuscate at this point. Then.
It doesn't. I forgot to roll for him, but yeah, he's looking for obfuscate. People just got Auspex 5, so
yeah. I figured as much. So
he's gonna be nice and not bring it up.
Right. And Leon says, well, since we last spoke, there's been a bit of a political upheaval, and I am now the prince.
I have met few princes of the Clan of the Moon. He's speaking to you in Latin now.
Yep, and I'll be back in Latin now. It's like, I have heard of a few tales, some from my sire, who is himself very old. He claims to remember a time before the Camarilla.
I do, as I said, but I am glad that you've received such a thing. I know you. I did not know the other that you had spoken of. I wish to formally request to be allowed remain in your city, as long as I respect the laws of your Camarilla.
And I am inclined towards that, but I must, of course, ask a few questions. First off, I know you have some personal grudge against the Giovanni.
You have heard me say that I find the Sabbat distasteful,
Mm-hmm.
extremely. I find the Giovanni even more so. They merely cover up their sins to some degree more, but surely you have heard of what is said about them. More than just true.
I have heard of many things said about them, but when it comes down to it, for all I have heard from rumors and and in some cases direct experience with one or two of them, it seems to me that they are builders. They create things. They do not seek to destroy.
And
Whether
they are playing the game well these days, if they give that appearance.
Well, it depends. Among other things, I can easily say within the camera, even within the Camarilla, it's fairly easy for us to get people who seek to destroy. It's also, at least in some cases, easy to find people who at least think that they can create. Sometimes these may even be the same person. But I have one question based on a few things I have noticed. And I assume you might be paying a bit more close attention than I. Have the Giovanni started sending in scouts?
No, but there are others who, seeing as you asked that question, have not wished to pay the respects to the Prince of this city as I have. And that is something I would speak with you in regards to.
That is, well, that is definitely a useful subject of conversation. So my question to you now is, what do you want to build?
As is always the way with the game, we must acquire resources. Sometimes this is blood. Sometimes this is money. Sometimes these are more esoteric matters. But the problem is, I am not too familiar with the current state of the world. I have been in torpor for a very long time. I have spent the last few years learning, but there are thousands of years to catch up on. It will take time. I wish to harness the power of this place, not to do any harm here. I wish to enact justice. The Giovanni have wronged friends of mine. They have wronged those I would call brother. They have enacted terrible things, and they used treachery and guile to get away with it. But I wish only to balance the scales. And here is something which may be of use, something which others yet vie for.
Well, if and actually, I think at this point I'll attempt perception and empathy to judge how truthful he's being.
I'll get out his stats again.
Wow, only one success.
Really? Only one success?
Yeah, only one success.
He got two. Yeah, no, he's completely telling you the truth. And nobody else can understand the words he's saying, so... He's totally not lying.
One other thing I'm also wanting to do, which is going to be a slightly different perception and empathy roll, is I'm looking at his aura.
Good man.
Ooh. 3 successes. Which, But main color, color patterns, and the shade.
Okay, the main color. The main color is brown. There's deep red. There is green in there as well. Let's see, your patterns. And there are sparkles in the aura.
He's a fairy. Eat him.
It's like, and Leon just looks at him for a few moments and goes, "Well, if at the very least I can understand the state of your soul right now."
We must all be guarded at times, but there are others here. Have you heard of the bloodline known as Nagaraja?
Well, now it's time to make a very difficult int and occult test.
Yeah, I'm gonna say difficulty 8.
Thank you. I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Anybody
5,
can roll that because you're
7.
hearing just the word Nagaraja.
7 successes.
I'll pass.
Wow, I still make 1 success. Yay!
I have 2.
I'm thinking. Well, I'm not hearing bloodline. I don't have no context for this, so I'm gonna. Rafat's gonna get a little more tense because he thinks this is a Latin word for "I'll kill you, you bastard." So he's tensing up just a little bit, but then sees nobody else is, he'll calm down again.
Yeah.
Anybody who succeed? Okay? How many successes did people get?
I got 1.
Okay.
7.
You've heard they're a bloodline. That's what I've heard. Oh, let's see. Did Hannibal has heard they are a bloodline more associated with the Sabbat than not. Sometimes independent. You've never heard of one, the Carmela. You're not sure what offshoot of what clan they are. Then Creed, they are necromancers. You've heard all sorts of unusual tales regarding them. In fact, it was only merely a decade past you sat down and you read a book where he's talking about them. It is said that some stories say that they were mages in mortal life and that they somehow managed to go off and use magics to turn themselves into kindred, although it has left them unusual. They hunger for the flesh instead of the blood of people. There are other stories which say that they are a bloodline of the Giovanni, or with that number of successes you heard of the Cappadocians, as they were once called. You have also heard other suggestions that they are indeed followers of Set, who stole the secrets of Giovanni from the Cappadocians and then broke from the main clan. Some Setite not wanting his children to worship Set, but idolize him as a god. The origins of the clan are kind of confusing.
At this point, I would like to spend the willpower to use telepathy on my good prince.
Actually, at this point, his first thing is going to be. One moment. I've heard passing of them. One moment. Let me consult with some of the others here.
Oh. Well, then Hannibal will kind of.
Says that in Latin, then turns like. Have any of you heard of the bloodline called the Nagaraja?
Yeah, isn't that on those guys with the Sabbat?
Did not know that, but now.
I'm pretty sure a guy up in Boston told me that once.
Turns to. He actually will turn to Creed. It's like, I know you've studied a lot of our kind. Have you heard of them?
They were They change themselves in a different way and turn into kindred, yes, and they don't drink like us, they eat
Right.
flesh.
Anything else you might know about them?
Wait, they eat?
I've run into a few kindred who can only eat flesh. Usually they are put down.
Yikes. He kinda looks over his shoulder to the Harbinger. Does the Harbinger wear a mask? I know a lot of Harbinger do.
Oh, sorry.
He's not actually wearing a mask. He's got a hooded cowl.
Okay.
His face is mostly shadows, but you can see Lorejaw is his face is dried up. His lips have actually pulled back, so you can see. You have no problem seeing his teeth. He doesn't have any fangs extended, but you've no problem seeing his normal teeth. They've kind of pulled up to just short of the kind of nose and stuff. It's pretty fucking nasty. You've seen you're a Nosferatu. You've seen some nasty stuff. This guy's just like nasty and corpse that's gotten to that stage of decomposition, and it's really old decomposition.
He looks over his shoulder like, I guess there's all sort of weird shit going on.
So
His word that they came from Giovanni or Cappadocians.
now, Cappadocians. Now I'm going to roll to see if I recognize that one. What difficulty should I roll?
I wouldn't have no kindred law.
Difficulty. Well, no, you can use a cult because you are kindred. We're just saying.
Yeah.
You can roll, let's say, difficulty 8 for them, really, because
Yeah,
it's been
no,
so
I haven't heard of them then.
Nope. No idea.
If I hadn't gotten that one, I'd be like, oh, I've heard of them. It's like the Cappadocian, and he's like, the Giovanni or the Cappadocians. Not heard of the Cappadocians.
It is it is what I understand an old name for the clan. Before Augustus Giovanni came to the fore to lead them. I don't know too much.
Can someone roll me 7 dice for me?
Sure. You get 2 successes, so you know about as much as Rafat. I kind of would give a PC more than I was giving Rafat, but with 2, you know that much. I'm kind of throttling back on Rafat because I'm STing for the scene as well.
Did you say difficulty is 8?
Oh, sorry, difficulty 8. Oh, sorry, you didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I did. I have formal ghoul and.
Oh, Rafat has formal ghoul as well. So actually, he'd know more. Shit, I keep forgetting that. Okay, so yeah, you know, like what Rafat said there, but Rafat seems to be thinking a little more. You know, they were called Cappadocians. It seems they had some internal issues with the clan, and Augustus Giovanni was able to remove the existing leadership of the clan and take over control. You don't know about Diablo or Fat saying about that. It's that's it. Like you need a lot. This is over 1,000 years ago. It's
but interestingly enough, that gives Leon's like, he's like, he turns back and says, turns back to Abdul Fattah and says, fortunately, one of our number is a scholar of kindred lore, and he has heard of the Nagaraja. I have one other question. What is your relation to the Cappadocians?
I counted many friends amongst the Cappadocians, and it would be to avenge them that I would act. And that is why I gather these things. Augustus Giovanni was taken into the clan, embraced by Cappadocius himself, and then the traitor drank the blood of his sire while his sire was in torpor, embraced his own mortal progeny, wider family, and then set about exterminating the rest of the clan.
I see. Out of character, and that is totally unprecedented in kindred society.
He don't care about the Tremere.
I'm joking.
Plus, that wasn't, at least that was, in this guy's eyes, at least that wasn't his sire. Like, he went off and his sire. Like, Tremere went off and dabbed somebody else. It's like, oh, wait.
But it's like, I see. Well, at least now I have a better understanding of your bitterness.
There is a reason I've come here to gather some powers here. Now, these interlopers, this Nagaraja and their allies, she certainly has others with her. Her skill at necromancy is far weaker, but she understands this modern world. She has resources that I do not yet understand. I would seek the aid of your court, as they have also disrespected you by not presenting themselves, seeing as you were unaware of their presence. If you would, I would be willing to help you remove their presence. Obviously, I have a interest here, but if you were to do that, and the Giovanni would try to disrupt things here, if you were to bar their presence in the city, I would be willing to offer your court proper compensation. I would be willing to teach 2 of your court, each must be of different clans, training in necromancy, the path of the sepulchre. I would not wish you to have to necessarily do it without any of the services Giovanni would provide, but you would not have to deal with their treachery. I think this would be potentially adequate compensation.
I believe what you are offering is a very good deal. I myself have only some understanding of the arts of necromancy, largely from an academic viewpoint. The few Giovanni I met were understandably unwilling to give up trade secrets.
Their ancestors had to undergo much treachery to steal them from the Cappadocians. The Cappadocians taught them to others, however, in times past. I would honor them in that respect.
Well,
Those who would help avenge their memory. I would leave the who to be trained to yourself, as long as they are respectful.
of course. If you give me a moment, I'll once again consult with my my entourage. It turns around and says, "Okay, apparently we have a group of Nagaraja that have shown up and decided not to announce their presence."
What?
Okay, so out of character, I had 7 success, and it's kind of normal for me to understand that they eat flesh, right?
Yeah, they eat flesh.
And they do kill people, blah blah blah. Do we have any problems in the city? Dead bodies?
Not
Eat them.
that you've noticed. However, it does occur to you, if they want to keep a low profile, there's 2 things they can do. For the short term at least, in a very long term it would definitely get noticed. One, they could be taking bodies from a graveyard or some other area like that where to be disposed of, or a crematorium would be a great spot because nobody's expecting there to be a body afterwards. Chuck in a bit of firewood, here's some ashes, you're happy. They could do something like that, or they could be acquiring animals and eating the animals. If you want to keep a low profile and you put a bit of effort into it, you can. However, still, if you guys made a concerted effort, you might be able to follow a trail. There might be something there if you guys start combing it a bit.
Let's just say like this. If you're going to eat a corpse, you will need to. You don't need to kill people, but like in the long term, they might kill. But in the short term, they will go to crematoriums and something like that to eat corpse. Well, nobody look after what happened to body after they done. And maybe they might eat animals. There are animalism master from the clan Gangrel, which can help us. And he's actually will need to help us. He's a
Well,
Well, guys, I don't want to be really the downer here, but what I've heard, and if that's true, and if they have the lines to the Sabbat, we can't really have them running around and scoop
No.
around the city, infiltrating.
no, if it had been, I'll be honest, if it had been what my first assumption was, and there were some Giovanni that had arrived, well, things would be less clear-cut than they are now. But no, if it's a bloodline that's associated largely with the Sabbat that have shown up and decided not to announce their presence.
Yeah, there must be something fishy going on.
Oh, of course, well, there's always something fishy going on. But this is a matter of, to be perfectly honest, it's a matter of our security.
So what does the skeleton want?
Well, it's quite simple. What he wants is the Giovanni to be banned from the city,
Hell yeah.
which I'm not hugely against. He
They're
also
weird.
is willing to teach necromancy to two within the city in exchange for ensuring that there are none of the Giovanni within the city. So
And that was also to deal with the Nagaraja.
yeah, the Nagaraja thing is, he's like, and it will doubtless also be useful against the Nagaraja.
my prince. Which path?
He said the sepulcher path. I'll be
Wow.
honest, I am not familiar with all of the.
Difficulty 7 is one of the more common ones.
I'll roll. I'll roll. It's like doo-doo-doo.
I'm not rolling necromancy, not my thing.
Nope. I'm getting too many ones today.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world.
What did Creed get?
No success.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rafak got
See no
one
path.
success.
It's like
Rafak
I'm not
got one
familiar
success,
with.
so he's like, I think that is something to do with. Oh, what did Creel get?
Let's give
So you
this.
haven't rolled. Thanks for
I
interrupting.
have usually avoided, but since you guys are showing off the wonderful, wonderful dice pools and failing at it, let's try 4 dice. That'll be a fail too.
So Rafat is the only one who's got a bit of volunteer information going. I think
I
it
think
has
all gonna
something to
roll
do with
rolls as well.
specifically ghosts. But
Well,
I have one. Yes.
yeah, you know the same things about Rafat. Ghosts! It has stuff to do with ghosts.
no.
Yeah, isn't that stuff where you like deal with ghosts and talk with dead people?
Ballast, quite possibly. If some of its later abilities include some measure of power over ghosts, well, then it would be quite useful. But
Hannibal will try to read the Rafat mind at this point,
Okay.
because I imagine
Willpower.
he will drooling all over himself at this point. Yeah, spending willpower, difficulty, or current willpower. Oh, that's not too good.
You can't penetrate it. It seems to have he seems to have a pretty strong willpower. You're just obviously he's gone through some kind of training being a Tremere that is making it more difficult than normal.
Okay.
Oh, whenever you try and mind read the lines, mate, it always goes against you.
it's like,
As opposed to last one, Botch! Oh my god, he's seen terrible things. I never want to look into his mind again.
Okay. Well, but Rafat will probably notice that Hannibal kind of looks over to him, stares even.
Okay.
Does everyone want to roll for Shin awareness?
Sure, I'll roll that one. And I've got
We'll say difficulty of 8 as a base.
I think my insightful specialty counts. Difficulty 8. No, yep, that.
Nope.
So I got 9 successes.
3.
Rafat he'll just look back at Hannibal and kind of clear his throat in a way of kind of like, it's like I've just caught you doing something. I'm not going to make an issue out of it, but it's like, he just kind of looks at Hannibal.
Hannibal doesn't stop
Hannibal's
staring.
pesky through here.
He just keeps going.
And Leon's gonna turn back and it's like, well, honest question: does anyone have any objections to his terms?
Does he have any further terms?
He simply wishes the Giovanni to be banned from the city. Otherwise, as he's already said, he's willing to follow our traditions. And
That offer seems a bit too good.
oh, it's a very good offer, and let me put it this way. If you're completely trusting an elder, you are a fool.
There is one. There's actually. I'm just gonna give it to you. There's one term that you're forgetting. That's Leon.
Oh yeah.
The two people have to be of different clans.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have to be respectful.
Well, he's going to initially say, he's like, yeah, he'll teach 2 people necromancy. Oh yes. And the 2 people can't be of the same clan.
Not surprising, I suppose.
Seems that could be quite beneficial. We don't want one clan having monopoly over this.
Yeah.
Do we want any clan having any of this?
As opposed to letting the Giovanni have it all?
Well, there will be no Giovanni here, I suppose.
Yeah. It's, at the very least, what he's offering is even with his stipulations amazingly generous. Which of course means there's going to be some hidden catch, but
although I think we may not, it has to be decided here and now. I would say, although it would lessen my own chance of putting my own hat into the ring, which it does sound quite a unique opportunity. I would say that for the security of the city, to put it bluntly, it might be best if the sheriff was one of those people, rather than having to call in somebody with this if he had it during his investigations. Something to consider.
no, that would actually make perfect sense.
Do you even want to give it to the sheriff?
Exactly 2 positions that would highly benefit from this, one of them being the sheriff. The other one being the scourge. So...
Hannibal bites his tongue.
So at this point, I'm inclined to at least accept it temporarily, or accept it provisionally for a period of time, and say, if circumstances change, we may have to change the details. But at least for the immediate moment, we need his help against the Nagaraja.
Nagaraja. I suppose this also means he's allowed to stay in the city for an indefinite amount of time.
Yes.
Well, it's a deal that's too good to refuse, I suppose.
Yes. Well then, turns back to Abdul Fattah and switches back to Latin. It's like, there are certain details about your offer that have to be discussed in more depth among us, but at the very least, provided you're willing to follow our traditions and help us deal with the Nagaraja, you may stay in the city. I would assume that the banning of the Giovanni and the teaching of the Sepulchre Path would be also tied together, and that one will be discussed in council.
Seems agreeable.
All right.
The Nagaraja has, as I said, more material assets. I haven't been able to find their exact location where I could go there. Personally, I have restrained myself to spectres and not used any of, until gesture towards these shadowy figures behind him, more corporeal means to protect the silence of the blood.
Yes. Well, he actually like looks closely at them, and I'm just going to roll in general to see. It's like, do they even have auras? Wow, that's a lot of successes.
With that many successes, there are auras. They're very, very pale, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of emotion. Or you're just it's kind of weird. You don't think there's any souls in these things.
Yeah, no. Even ghosts tend to be very dark, but they have some emotions.
Yeah. Usually anger and jealousy and envy.
Yeah, anger, jealousy, every so often you'll find a nicer one, but usually it's not. Those aren't the ghosts you notice. It's like, so he looks at them. He's like, he just looks at them. He's like, I assume they are potent warriors of a sort.
All warriors are potent with numbers, but they are very vigorous.
Well, those do seem to be useful if necessary. But if you have at least a general idea, although I'm guessing, my own guess is that they're somewhere within the northeastern section of Perth. I do fortunately have a few sources of information of my own, but well, it seems that almost every human gifted with clearer sight is having nightmares. So something's on the horizon.
If the Nagaraj and its allies are dealt with and there are no further threats, I can bring my servants to heal quickly and stop bringing attention to these things. But if I were to remove my forces, they would go about unchecked and may bring harm to those of the city.
Oh no! Given what I assume you're doing, I think a few psychics having nightmares. Well, to be honest, with some of them, who would tell the difference? But no, if you can give us any information you have about where their activities seem to be based, a bit more details than I already have, we will, if at any point we need your more physical assistance, I'll make certain we let you know.
Of course.
And I am likely to give your Ghoul's number to our sheriff, among others, so that way if he runs into these in the course of his duties, he has a easy method of contacting you.
I would prefer to be contacted before people come here. Would you recognize, since I've already established my belongings here, would you recognize this area as my domain?
And he sits there, seems to think about it a moment, And then he nods. He's like, I would recognize, at the very least, the this hospital as.
You're most gracious. Thank you.
And so are there any other details you would like to discuss now?
I would not like people to show up unannounced. I do not know all of your vassals, and I do not know all who serve the Nagaraja, so I must be wary of outsiders.
Understandable. I will make an appropriate announcement. And we'll have to see about getting a few people back into certain positions. Unfortunately, recent events have, as I said, there was a bit of a political upheaval that has caused a number of problems for me. So anything to minimize future problems is a good idea. He looks around. Well, if in that case, I believe I will take my leave. And hope that all our future encounters are as cordial.
I'm sure they will be.
Hannibal will actually turn to Mr. Harris. My prince, if you wouldn't mind, could you translate for me for a moment?
It's like, oh yeah, certainly. And then he turns like the Nosferatu. He turns back to Latin. It's like the Nosferatu Primogen has something he would like to say and ask me to translate. And at this point,
Yeah.
Assume then he turns back to Hannibal and says, "Go ahead."
Well, tell him my name is Hannibal, Primogen of Clan Nosferatu, and as a aspiring scholar of our kind, I would like if he's willing to meet up again, because I have questions, since he seems to be very old and interesting. Make it a bit more formal.
He turned back to Fataz like, as I stated, he is the Primogen of Clan Nosferatu. He is an aspiring scholar of our kind, and if you are amenable, he would like to speak with you about, I'm assuming, aspects of our history, since you seem to have lived through certain interesting portions of it, and likely have a perspective that others lack.
I am sure we can come to an amicable arrangement.
Turn back to Hannibal and is like, he says he's certain that the two of you can come to an arrangement.
Hannibal will just bow in the direction of the Harbinger. I'm grateful. I will send word before showing up.
It's like, and turns back and says, he is glad to hear that, and he will contact you before he arrives. And turn back. Anyone else have anything you wish to say to him?
Me? Oh no, I'm just grateful.
No, it's like he's turning to the others as well.
Victor will just say, firstly, he will look at the Harbinger and says, "Salam alaikum," and then he will turn into the Leon Harris. I also would like to talk with him about the clan Gangrel. And he, as the Hannibal said, he looks like very old kindred, so.
Like, okay, he turns to him and is like, and uh, my other colleague, the Victor Creative Clan Gangle, would also like to meet and discuss things. He is also a scholar of our kind.
I am quite happy to meet with any members of your court at least once, and hopefully more. But for the moment, the conflict with the Nagalaraja and its vassals consumes much of my time. Once this matter is resolved, I can have more time to deal with such things.
And he nods and turns back and says, he is in theory willing to at least meet once with anyone from the court, but at the moment, dealing with the Nagaraja is kind of dominating his time.
Yeah, I understand, and I am actually quite interested in the fighting with the Nagaraja.
Hannibal just shrugs. I can wait.
He turns back to Abel-Fatah and says, they certainly understand that.
Do you want to roll a perception empathy as Leon?
Sure.
All those little neonates wasting my time.
What's the difficulty here?
Difficulty 6. So
Oh,
you
wonderful.
beat
So it's pretty much 3 for me.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe
You
5 successes.
really don't think he... Like, his grasp on time is a bit different to your guys. You don't think he particularly cares about it too much as long as the time is being somewhat about him. You think he more wants to, like, go kill the Nagaraj! Kill it! I hate the fucker! It's more sort of he wants... He's making a point about this is like, I need that fucker dead.
Right.
And I barely know how... I know a car is the one that goes vroom. He's got a problem with modern day tech.
And it's like,
out of character, sorry guys, I really need to run now.
right.
Just assume Hannibal will follow the entourage.
Yep. Well, and at this point, we're pretty much at least leaving the hospital. So it's like, Leon will again nod to him and will head on back to the car.
In fact, we'll say, I imagine we'll be discussing this at Primitive Council meeting. Whoever is given training in necromancy, perhaps so the skill can be distributed within the court. Those are interested that as long as that they must be willing to teach some other people, at least take on one student once they have applicable things.
Yes.
Not put all of our eggs in one basket.
Exactly.
Or two in this case.
No. And I don't know many details about necromancy, but if this Folker path deals with ghosts, he knows at least 2 paths, since he can also raise corpses as servitors.
If he's gotten this far, I do not know how difficult it is to learn necromancy. But if it's anywhere near as difficult as learning thaumaturgy, it will take some time for individuals to become skilled, especially since it is not native to any of our bloods.
No.
Is anybody interested in learning necromancy in here?
Of course. It's very...
To be perfectly honest, the only person I'm not certain if they're interested or not is Marcus.
I'll pass. Too much of a yin thing for me.
I can understand that.
I am interested in the necromancy, yes, but I don't want to be blood-bonded as such an old creature. But I am interested.
Single step is not a huge problem, to be perfectly honest. There are other things out there, but no. When it comes down to it, we'll work out further stuff. As I said, right now I gave him in exchange for his help against the Nagaraja. I recognized him as being able to be a member of the city. And I gave him what he had already as de facto domain as de jure domain. So, which I don't see the Provincial Council having any real issues with.
That is the area of the prince domain and status.
Yes.
Completely. If we had to have I do not believe it binds towards that. It determines towards edicts, not.
Yeah, that's true.
Otherwise, we'll cripple ourselves with bureaucracy, and I do not regard it as the intent.
Right. No, that makes sense. But
That said, I will bring before the Provincial Council meeting Matilde. Now, you were not in the position at the time, but I believe that Semi-Musketeers, as some of you know, he's not towards Marcus. He may have, intentionally or not, accidentally misled others of the court with regards to a task that he was performing. He made it sound like it was a task given to him by the prince, but for him, not necessarily for everyone in the city. He misrepresented and offended the position of prince. I had spoken to the former prince regarding his punishment, possibly being stripped down to fledgling, since he had done such a thing. However, he is no longer present in the city. And as the primogen of Clan Tremere, I would like to give the prince a seat, a minor boon by way of compensation.
that seems reasonable. Yes. Now,
I just propose, may I just ask what did the Rafat said to Prince?
Semi-Musketeers had misrepresented the situation, not necessarily intentionally, but he certainly didn't make it clear, and it sounded like the Prince's seat had asked him to. It did ask him to do something, but it was for him to do, not necessarily the whole city. And that if he was still in the city, Rafat would be stripping him down to fledgling or some similar punishment. But he has left the city, so he wishes to settle accounts with the Prince's seat and basically, by the clan, give a minor boon to the Prince. Or the other way I was going to do if he'd still been around was either strip him down to fledgling, or you've got to give everyone present a trivial boon. And that's like 6 trivial boons, which is actually a pretty steep punishment. It's like, you've got to give him a trivial boon, and that's it, to compensate him for wasting the time.
That reminds me, did Sullivan ever get a replacement car?
I was informed of that initially. However, I have spoken with the sheriff, and something has been acquired. The Grasshopper's coterie has been they have certain skills, and I've introduced them to the sheriff and been compensating them. He's got a basic, bit more fashionable type than he's used to, but I've encouraged him to find something towards more work functionality, and we'll provide him with suitable compensation.
No. I just remember hearing him talk about it in passing at one point, so wasn't sure what the details were on that.
Unfortunately, he had to leave in a hurry, so I'll settle the account there.
Okay.
And we can't have the sheriff walking everywhere, can we?
No, that's not so much. That's just rather inconvenient, given that Perth is such a large city, and the buses don't usually run that late. Well, in any case, at this point, I assume we're all driving back. It's like, we need to figure exactly when we'll hold the next Provision Council meeting. Oh, and any suggestions for positions, I'd still like to hear from. Probably I will be meeting with most of the Primogen one-on-one in the next week or so for that. So, and also he turns to Creed. We'll have to have a private conversation as well.
Creel or Creed, I'm sorry.
Creed.
Okay. Yes, my prince.
And with that, I'll end scene.